Let me come on to your bit. You say nobody votes against these kind of things without a lot of thought. Shortly before 9/11, you voted against prescribing Al-Qaeda as an organisation. That was a huge mistake on your part, was it not?
Have you actually read the legislation we were voting on?
I have read the legislation and I've looked at the addendums as well.
And
I've got here.
what the legislation brought forward was a whole list of
organisations,
some of which some people would argue were not terrorist organisations, but dissident organisations. Well, and to say that because
which ones? Because I've got the list here. Al-Qaeda, Egyptian Islamic Jihad, the Armed Islamic Group, Harakat Mujahideen, the Liberation Tigers of Tamil, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad Group, Islamic Army of Aden, the Abu Nidal organisation, the Kurdistan Workers' Party. Which of these should not be prescribed?
The titles are one thing, but the reality of some of those groups, whether they were dissidents in their country of origin, and that's why some of us were not willing. Had they taken out Al-Qaeda as one thing, that would have been something. But, you know,
this is a group of really dangerous organisations from all around the world, many of whom have killed a lot of people. Lashkar-e-Taiba carried out the 2008 Mumbai attacks, which killed more than 170 people. That was on the list. This was, you know, no list is perfect, but it was a pretty good list, and you voted against prescribing those groups.
Because there were groups on that list which I deem to be dissidents rather than terror organisations. You have to give people credit for thinking about how they vote. As I said to you earlier, we're hearing about all this anti-terror legislation that Jeremy and I voted against, but we're not hearing that the Tories voted against some of the self-same legislation, particularly control orders and detention without trial.
Well, there is the list. Which of those organisations do you think should not have been prescribed? Because, you know, you voted against the whole lot being prescribed because presumably some of them you thought were OK. I'm just wondering which ones you think are OK.
It's not that I thought they were OK. I thought that they were dissident organisations.
You could have the list if you'd like it.
No, I don't need it, Andrew, because the point is, at this point, less than a week after those people died in Manchester, we should be talking about how we go forward to make this country safe.
But to know how to go forward, we have to look behind and look at people's records, which is why I've been talking about you. Now, Jeremy Corbyn got into some trouble with Andrew Neil in his interview where he said he had not met the IRA, and he was then photographed lots of people from the IRA during the course of his career. You yourself said that it would be a defeat for the British state would be a great liberation, a great move forward at that period of time. Do you regret your support for the IRA right back in the 80s?
That particular quote you're referring to comes from a now defunct left newspaper, and it had, as well as
But you said it, didn't you?
No, but what I'm saying to you is this. It was 34 years ago. I had a rather splendid afro at the time. I don't have the same hairstyle. And I don't have the same views. It is 34 years on. The hairstyle has gone and some of the views have gone.
So you no longer, you regret the fact of what you said then about the IRA?
The hairstyle has gone, the views have gone. We've all moved on in 34 years, haven't you, Andrew?
We've all moved on. I'm just wondering, do you regret what you said about the IRA at the height of the bombing?
What specifically do you want me to regret?
Well, I can read the quote for you and find it here. Basically, what you said was that a defeat of the IRA would be devastating for the British people, and it was a defeat for the British state was a good thing, you said, at the time when the IRA was attacking the British state. And you said that the reason for the violence was entirely caused by the British presence in Northern Ireland. I'm saying, do you think those statements now are wrong?
It was 34 years ago. I've moved on.
You've moved on. All right. I've got the quote here, finally. You said, the Ireland is our struggle. Every defeat of the British state is a victory for all of us. A defeat in Northern Ireland will be a defeat indeed, was the quote.
34 years ago, and I've moved on.
OK. And within a few weeks, you could be Home Secretary. And one of the things we know from Amber Rudd that she spends 2 hours a day signing orders approving the surveillance of individual people. Would you be prepared to sit there now and do that?
Of course, if the evidence was presented to me. Remember, I was a Home Office civil servant. I know how these things work. So if the files are put in front of me, evidence are put in front of me, of course I'll sign orders for surveillance.